Okay. So whenever we talk about e-commerce applications, so there are majorly 4 to 5 modules which we normally focus. So first is like product listing. So in this particular video, we are just going to talk about the front end part. Obviously, like whatever the product listing we talk about, that will come from the admin panel. So whenever we talk about e-commerce application, we will have a website, right? It will have a website, which will the front end side, right? For the normal customer, and it will have a admin panel also, from where they will add the products and everything. They can see the add to cart item, they can see the products, orders and everything. Okay, so we are just focusing on the front end side now. So in website, what we normally do is like we have to show the products, whatever available products we have, whatever products created from the admin panel. Then on the product, we can open any particular product, means a detail view, right? Then from product listing, just like you can see here also we have add to cart button. And once we open that particular product, there also we can have an add to cart button along with some quantity selection also, like what quantity we need to purchase. So add to cart, right? After add to cart, once we do the add to cart, whatever the products has been added to cart, that we need to display it over here in the nav bar or somewhere. You can see the floating panels are also there in the some website, but normally in the nav bar we get the panel. Okay, so here we need to show cart data, whatever the add to whatever the items are added in the cart. Then we will have a checkout page. In checkout page, again, same thing. Whatever the items we have added, we will display that. But in the checkout page, again, we will have a form where we will ask user like where you want to ship this and basic information. Okay, so that will be order info, right? Again, like obviously, whenever we talk about e-commerce applications, so it cannot go without payment gateway integration. But to do that, again, we need to register to, let's say, Paytm, Razorpay, or any other payment gateway. We have to register as a merchant. So many things are there. Okay, so that we will skip. But remaining thing, like what are the basic functionality when we talk about e-commerce application, that we will try. Okay, so starting with product listing. So API I will be using is big basket API I have in my pre-api.jsim.in. So here we have all the APIs, whatever we need. So first API, like it, that is get all products. So get all product is a API. If we call this API, we get whatever the products we have. Let me just try it out. So this API is responsible to get all the products, regardless of the category. Whatever the products we have added, it will get all the list of that product. So here you can see so many products are there. So if you see the product object, you have the product ID, which is primary key, SKU, name, price, short name, description, delivery time, category, like what type of the product category is, image URL, and the category name also. So basic thing, whatever is there in the product that we are getting. Now coming back to Angular side. So HTML, whatever you are seeing now, it is already hosted in my GitHub. So in YouTube project template, you can access that. So this is that HTML we will going to use. So this is the same HTML local page I have run. Now coming back to Angular project. So this is the Angular 17 project. So to create the project, you have to use the simply command ng new and the project name. Okay, so it will create this structure. Again, with Angular 17, we can create the project with older structure also, where we get to use that app module. But with the latest framework or the latest architecture, we don't get app module. We have got app config. It is not the replacement of app module. Just some things we can do it over here. Okay, so if you need to create the older project, so you can add standalone with value false. So if you create the project by using this command, it will create the older structure, what you are familiar with. But if you want to create the, if you want to actually work with the new things or the new structure of Angular with 17, you can just use this command, ng-new and the project name, right? So in that, again, I have added Bootstrap and the font awesome. Let's close the package.json. In angular.json, after installing the Bootstrap, we need to add the entry of the CSS. So here you can see in the style section, we have added that. One more thing, like we will be needing JS, bootstrap.js also. So let me just get that. So bootstrap.js will go in the script side section. So in angular.json, this section is to add all the dependencies or what are the packages you are going to use. Like it is a bootstrap, primeng, aggrid, whatever things you are using, external libraries. And if they need to import CSS, so you can import the CSS and JS will go over here. Okay. Let's move ahead. That's done with the angular.json. Now in app folder, we actually have the app config. We don't get the app module, right? So when we talk about Angular 17, and if you create the new structure, so whatever the components you create, by default, those components are standalone, right? So if you know standalone or don't know, we will cover it, the basic thing, not, we won't go in detail, but basic like what new things or what is standalone component, we will discuss. So standalone component is the actual reusable component we have got. Okay. Means that is independent. Okay, it will have whatever the things that component need, we have to include in that component only. It will not be included in the app module as we don't have it. Okay, it won't be part of any module in the simple definition. That will be an independent working component. Okay, so in app folder, first I will just create a folder. Let's say pages. In pages, I will create the components. So let's create the components for now. So first component I will create is to list the product. Means, let me just close this product listing. So by default, when we create the Angular project, we get the app component.html, right? So parent component we have. So in parent component, we will just keep our navbar. So this navbar, we will keep this in our parent component, means app component. So let's get that first. So this is the header. Let me just copy and paste it over here in app component. Let me just run the application. Yeah, it is already running. So here you can see we are able to see the proper navbar, but color is not coming. So color might be style will be there. Okay, so main.css was there. Let me just copy this and I will put it into my global CSS. So outside the app folder, you might be already knowing like style.css file is there. So this is like a global style. Let's say you need to create a class which you are going to use all over the application. So that kind of class you can put it over here. Okay. Yeah, so now you can see we are getting the drop down menu also. So as we have to use this sub menu, that's why we added the angular.json. In angular.json, we have added this JS. If it was a normal navbar without side menu, so it was not needed. But since we need that what do we say, sub menu, that's why we added this bootstrap main.js. Okay. So otherwise, this is optional. Just add the bootstrap in style section. That is enough. Now, after header, we will have a router outlet. Let's add a container. And in container, we will use router outlet. So router outlet is a directive which is responsible to load the activated route, correct? So this was the same thing we have got in older version also, but just pay attention to .ts. Here you can see in the import, we have imported router outlet. So let me just remove this. Let's save. Now you will see we got the error. So it won't understand like what is router outlet, right? So just a simple thing in Angular 17, as all the components are standalone, whatever the thing you are going to use, you need to import that. Doesn't matter it is a router outlet, ngIf, ngFor, or even RouterLink. Whatever you are going to use, you need to import that. So starting with router outlet. So here we need to have a router outlet. Then only you can use it. Now error will be gone. Okay. So this is the first thing. Then let's say we need to add the router link also. Let's just add a router link. Okay, let's create component first. Now what components we are going to need? So first component we will create is a for product listing. So let's create it as a open in a new terminal. So ng generate component, let's say product list. Just a component I'm creating. In this component, we will simply show the products. So this is the page what I'm talking about. This is the page. This we are now we have kept into the app component, but the remaining page is a separate page. Okay, so that we are talking about. So product list page. Then we will need one more component that will be product card. So if you see this page, this section, or because this is the HTML, so either we can use this card to show the product or we can use. So let's go with this. So this is nothing but a card. So either in our product listing page, we can write this as a static HTML and use the for loop. Or if you want to explain or if you want to understand the reusable component also, so we can create a reusable component for this. Okay. So, but for now, I will just go with the normal flow. Then we will try to convert that into reusable. Then we will need a second page that will be for the checkout page. So just two components I'm creating for now. Checkout. For login and everything, we will use model pop-up. So we don't have to create another page. It is taking time. Yeah. So two components I have created. First is the product list and second is the checkout page. So now we have to create the routes. So when we create the project in previous version, it used to ask like, do you need a routing file or not? But in Angular 17, it won't ask. By default, it will create the route file. So this is the route file. Okay. So if you see, this is not a module. So previously, if you might have observed, app routing module.ts was there. But this is just a TS file where we have the array of routes. That's it, nothing else. See, we are exporting the array. Okay. So now here we have to create the routes. Previously, we used to get app routing module. App routing module route file was a module file. But now it's just a simple file where we are exporting the route. Now, coming back to route. So first path, whenever we talk about any application, web application, we need a default page. Okay. By default, which page should be the default one? So for that, I'm creating a default page. Path will be empty. Then redirect to, let's say, home, and path my strategy we need to use along with full strategy. This is my default route. Then we need a route for particular path. So path will be, let's say, home. By home means the component we will be loading is product listing. Product list component. Okay. So if we don't have anything in the URL, so it will redirect to the home page and it will render the product list component. Okay. Then second component is path. That will be checkout. In actual e-commerce application, there won't be only two components. There will be tons of components. But we just want to complete the whole cycle, right? The basic cycle. That's why two components are also enough. Component. Again, if you need for registration and the login, you can create one more component. If you want to filter product, again, you can create one more component. You might have seen in the e-commerce application, we get filters, sort by and everything. So for that, again, you can create it. Okay. So this is checkout component. So this is default route. These are the routes specific to that particular component. And then we can create a wildcard route. So path 2 times star, then component. So even if some user try to add some route which doesn't exist, we will again redirect to the home page. Now I'm not going to create one more page showing like invalid route or something. I will simply redirect to the product list only. Okay. Now let's just save and check if routing is proper or not. So now by default, you can see product list is coming. Now if I navigate to checkout, see checkout is coming. Now I'm not going to enter the URL now. Somewhere I have to add the route. So protected route is like, there is no such word as protected route. We use authguard to protect the route. Normally we create the route and let's say can activate guard. We create a guard and then we apply it over here. So that is the protected route. As such protected route, there is no concept or term in the Angular, but we protect our route by using authguard. Okay. But over here, we don't, it's a website. Obviously everything should be open. So that's why we are not going to cover the authguard over here. Now, so the thing I wanted to tell you, like in app component, checkout page, I wanted to explain how do we do that, where we have the checkout button. Yeah. So here you can see we have the anchor tag. Now, let's say I want to redirect on click of this checkout. This will come over here. This button I'm talking about. If I click over here, it should redirect to the checkout button. So for that, how do we use router link, router link, and inside that we have to provide our route name. So our route name is checkout. Why it is not giving error? Let's check on the. Let's see if we are able to navigate. Let's go back to home page. No, see, we are not able to navigate. There might be error, but we should have got the compilation error only, or it is not saved. No, let me check again. Router link, correct only, no? Why it is not giving error to normal? Okay. So thing I wanted to explain is like, even if you have to use the router link also, now still you need to import that in your import section into your component. So router link. Once you import that down only, you can use it. See, now error is gone. Okay. I'm not sure like why it was not showing for normal, but with property binding, it was showing the error. Let's just try now. Save all. So now if we navigate, if we click on checkout, so see, now we are able to navigate. That's because as the rule goes, whatever the thing you are going to use in your HTML, whether it is you are trying to make a API call, are you using ng model, everything you need to import into your import of your component. Okay, as there is no app module. So whatever the thing you need in that particular component, you import there only. Correct? So that makes what do we say, Angular team, what Angular team is trying to do, it's trying to match up the speed whatever React has. So breaking down the application, uh, making component more intelligent, not overriding the overall Angular application. So whatever you use that into that particular component. So that's why it is not globally available. So ultimately it is going to increase the speed of our Angular application. Okay, so let's move ahead. So app component work is done. This also work done. App route also done. App config is also done. Now, in the product list page. So by default, when the application load, our product list page is loading. Now, first thing what we have to do is we need to call this API, get all product API. Okay. Now, either you can create a service or from component also we can make an API call. But let's create a service to follow just the basic coding standard. So inside app folder, I am creating a core folder. And in core folder, I will create one more folder that will be services. And one more folder I will be creating is model, where we will create our interface and the classes. So in services, I have to create the service. So open in integrated terminal. So how do we create the service? The same as you know, ng generate service and your service name. Let's say product service. Okay. So if you just type product, it will attach the service. So enter. Why it is taking so much time? Okay. So it has created a product service. So product service is same as it is, nothing difference in there. But now when we make the API call, so obviously we work on the Angular application, and Angular normally works. I mean, website, whatever we run, that is going to run on the HTTP. It will be using HTTP protocol. So obviously API which works on the HTTP protocol that we are going to consume, correct? So to make API call, we have to use HTTP client library. Okay. So just to compare, like if you know the React, in React, we can make the API call by using fetch API also from JavaScript. But again, fetch has the limitation API, limited things. So if we have to make the API call in React now, we have to install Exois, external library. But in Angular, they have got their own library already included, that is HTTP client library, correct? So in previous version, if we have to make the API call, first in app module, we used to import that HTTP client module. Then only we can create the object of HTTP client. Okay. So now that, like, we don't have app module, right? So we have got app config. So in app config, what you can do, provider section is there. In provider, you can use provide HTTP client. This is the thing. Okay. So in previous version, we used to import HTTP client module that got replaced. I mean, still we can do that. Let's say in component.ts, you need to make the API call. So here you can import that HTTP client module. See, it is there. It is not deprecated. It is there. But a newer way to use HTTP client is like in app config, you can add it in the provider section. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So provide HTTP client, you can do it. Like if you have to implement the interceptor now, that will go inside the round bracket. Okay. Interceptor, whatever the class name you create, that will go over here. Okay. So first thing, to make the API call in your app config, you can add a provider HTTP client in the provider section. Then in product service, the normal way, private HTTP HTTP client. We are creating the object of HTTP client service. Now this is what called as a dependency injection. Okay, in service I'm using dependency injection, but in component I will inform the new way. What new way we have got in Angular 17. Now first thing, like, we have to create the function, right? So get all product, just a API call function normal, and it is going to return. So this dot HTTP dot get method is there, round bracket, double quotes. Now if you see, like, all the APIs we are going to use from this controller. So only just method name is going to change, but remaining thing is common. Now I'm not creating that environment folder, but still we can reduce the code by putting, because we are only creating one service. So I'm just creating a one variable. There I will store API endpoint, not API endpoint, API URL, data type string. Okay. So what I have done, I have created a normal variable, and in that variable, I have stored the common part from my API. And here, now, instead of, either we can concatenate like this dot API URL plus double quotes and the actual end name, that is method name is get all product. Either you can do this, but this is an old way. Okay. If you are appearing for the interview, they don't want to see this code. They are expected in template literal. So that you can use. Rather than writing like this, you can use the backtick sign, and here dollar curly bracket, and here you can use this variable, then whatever the method name, get all product. This is the new way. So this is nothing but what we did earlier, concatenation, but it's we won't need space. Okay, so this is the new way, template literal. So you might be, while preparing, we prepare the question in JavaScript, like what is template literal. But rather than just preparing, try to implement the same thing in while coding also. So you don't have to actually prepare that question. Whatever the things you learn in JavaScript, now if you start using using those concepts in Angular, actually you won't have to waste time in learning that. Okay. Now the return type method. So if you can see, if I hover that, if I hover on this function, the return type is observable. Obviously, because get method is returning the data type of observable. Okay. So we can just provide a data type over here, observable. Sorry. Now I'm creating any. Okay. Now any is like a dynamic data type, right? But we know from this API what kind of data we are getting. This is the kind of data I'm getting. So I can create an interface, the interface of that. So let's use a direct site convert JSON to TS site is there. So many direct compilers are there which allow us to, we just have to provide the JSON. It will get us the proper JSON interface or the class. Why it is taking time? Let's open the second one. Let me just copy. I'm not able to type. Drop the JSON. Okay. No, I don't want to drop it. Let's see. Yeah, it opened. So see, if I put the JSON over here, you get the directly TypeScript object. Now you just have to copy this. Instead of type, you just need to write interface or the class, whatever you fill. So in model folder, I will create one more file. Let's say model.ts, and inside that I will paste it. So in Angular, when we talk about strongly data typing, either we can create interface or class. There are two ways. So let's say you need to store the data. You just want to store the data, whatever you get from the API. So in that scenario, you can go for the interface. Okay. So you can go for the interface. That will be I product. We need to remove equal to. So this is my interface. Another way is class. Now when you should create a class is, consider you are creating a form or creating a product. In that scenario, you should go for the class. Okay. But if you want to hold the data, then you can go for the interface. So in interview, normally they will ask you like when we should go for the interface and when we should go for the class. So whenever you need to initialize some different values to the class, to any object, you go for the class, because in class we have the constructor, but in interface we don't have that. So again, if you have to initialize default value in the component, there is a long process, right? So just to hold the data into an array, we go with the interface, otherwise class. Okay. Now all my API return some object. All my API will have a specific return type, that is message, result, and data. So we can create a object for this also, interface for this also. So export interface API response model. This is a one-time setup. Okay, not every day you are going to do this. Whenever project gets start, at the initial level only we do this. This will be replaced by string. Result will be Boolean. And the last data, it is going to be dynamic. Sometimes it can be object, sometimes it can be array. So that's why data only we are keeping it as a dynamic. Okay. Now this API response model will be used in services over this, because all my APIs are going to return the data type of this API response model. Correct? Only three things we are going to get from all the API response. So that's why we have to add it over here like this. I'm not able to copy paste. Yeah. Now we need to import that also. Once you add the return type to the function now, after get also you need to specify that in angle bracket, again the same thing. Okay. Now this function is going to return data type of this object. Okay. Now this function work is done. Now coming back to product.ts. So remember, while creating service, I told you like this is a dependency injection. This is the old thing what we know. But from Angular 16, we have got one new thing, that is creating what do we say, service object by using inject. Okay. So in component, what I create is like product service is equal to inject, and what we are going to inject is product service. Okay. So this is equivalent constructor, whatever we used to do, private service. So whatever we used to do over here, this is equivalent to this. This is the new thing, inject. Okay, so this we got from Angular 16, because in Angular 16, authguard is not a normal service. It got authguard is not now a arrow function. So in authguard, we normally create a service object or something, right? So there we can create the service object by using inject, because that is not the class. So in class, we don't have the constructor. So in arrow function, we don't have the constructor, right? So we got the arrow function now in AuthGuard. So we have to create any service object like this. So this is the new thing we have got in Angular 17. Not just Angular 17, for 16 we have it. Okay. So here we have done the integration of our product service. Now on the page load, we need to make the API call and get the product. So obviously we need to implement on init lifecycle event. So on init, and once we do that, we have to implement also. Now once we implement it, it will ask us to implement the ng on init. Ng on init. Okay, so ng on init is a lifecycle event hook which get called when the component got initialized properly. Then we will create a function like get all products. Okay, and here we will be making the API call. So this dot product service dot only one API call is there, right? Again round bracket result colon. Now the data type from this function, what the data type we are getting, API response model. So same data type you have to go over here also. Then arrow function. This is a success. Why it is giving error? Okay, we need to add the input. No, why it is giving error? Sorry, round bracket is needed. Let me just write it back. Get all product dot subscribe result colon API response model, then arrow function. Okay, so normally when we make the API call, this only code we write, but no, we need to write the catch block also. So comma error. So this is the actual API call you should write. Doesn't matter if you from service only, we in service we only write this. Whatever the whether it is a success or error, we are going to return it back. But in component, always try to write this whenever you are appearing for the machine interview. So this code look more promising. If we face any error in the API call, error block will execute. If you don't have the error block now, it will simply break it in the console, right? But we need to show the error also if we get any error from the API call, so that you can get it over here. And here we will simply write API call error, or in the error only you will get the error, whatever the error they are going to return from the API call. I'm just writing error from API. Now, so this function is going to make an API call, and whatever the data we are going to get it, that we need to store it somewhere. So let's say product list colon, now data type. So we are going to get the data of this iProduct interface, right? These are the properties we are going to get, and it is of type array. We are going to get the array. We need to add the import also. So whatever the data we get, that we will store into this variable. So this dot product list is equal to res dot data. See, the benefit of creating interface and the class, you get everything IntelliSense, strongly typing. Those who are from the .NET or the Java background, they might know like what is strongly typing. Okay, so data we need to assign, and this function we need to trigger from the ng on init, like this. Okay, so now what will happen on the page load, our API call will be there. Whenever you are doing it for the first time, now make sure you add the debugger everywhere. I'm talking about only for the practice time. Okay, so that whenever you write the code for the first time, make sure you debug the code properly, where the flow is going, which function is executing first, like that. So see, everywhere I have added the debugger. Let's debug that now. Now if I move to the home page, see, first debugger I have got in the ng on it, because this is the function which get triggers when the component initialize. Then we are calling the get all product. It got here. Now in get all product, we are calling get all products function from product service. Continue. See, it have got here. Once we continue in the network tab, we will be able to see one API call. See, we have got the response, and here subscribe model got executed, subscribe callback got executed, and the res result, you can see result properties, message, and the data. In data, we have got 500 record. So that only we are assigning to our variable. See, got it? So in product list, we have got the data, whatever available in our API. But let me just change the URL. I wanted to showcase this error block. When does this get executed? See, I'm just changing the URL. Okay, now see what happens. Now API call is URL is incorrect. Okay, so we will get 401 or something. So here you can see 404 we have got, because API API URL is not correct. It didn't find that particular API. So in that case, see, error block got executed. And in error also, you will get all the response from the API, unknown and everything. Okay. So that is why this is also important. So whenever you appear for the machine test or coding round, make sure if you are making the API call, you add this. This will showcase your coding skill. Okay. Let's undo that. Now, so in the product list, we have got the product. Now we just need to make it dynamic. So in the HTML, from the template, we need to get that product HTML code, which we have decided this we are going to, or let's use this only, because this structure, this, see, when we work with the e-commerce now, photos do matter. Okay. So when we actually, if it is an actual e-commerce application now, so you will have two type of images. First is thumbnail image. In product, you will have thumbnail image and the real image. Name can be anything, and multiple images will be also there. Okay. So thumbnail image is an image which has a compressed, same image will be there, but it will be a compressed image with less size. And the real image, when we open any particular product, then you will get the actual image with the full resolution. Okay. But in my application, I don't have that, just a simple URL we are using. So, and all the photos, whatever I have added, those photos were from the big basket. Let me just show you one of the image that doesn't have actually the background. Okay, we have background. So let's use this only, this card structure. Let's get this box shadow. Let me just find the HTML. Yeah. So this is the HTML for that. I will copy this. Now let's go to over here. Now here in product listing, we have got the data into product list. Now we just have to iterate, right? So let's create row column structure. Dot row. Row. Call, let's say in one column we are going to show the 4 products, so call 3. Okay. And in call 3 I will put it over here, the static HTML code. Now this call 3 should be dynamic. Okay. Now coming back to new feature what we have got in Angular 17, the actual difference why component is very lightweight in Angular 17. So if you have to iterate in the normal way, we know ngFor. So let's first try that. ngFor let item of our array name. Array name is product list. Okay, this is normal way, but this too won't work, because if you have to use any directive, whether it is RouterLink, router outlet, ngFor, ngIf, ngClass. So now ngFor will come from common module. So if you have to use the ngFor in your component import section, you need to import the common module. Then only you can use it. So if I use this, then error will be going away. Got it? But in Angular 17, we have got the normal for loop, what we used to write in .ts. So now the problem is why we should go for the normal for loop, because you are reducing your component. Why you need the common module now? If your component is going, your task is just to iterate something, directly use the for loop. Now why you need to import and you are burdening your component? Okay, so let's remove this. Now your component got very what do we say, lightweight, because it has very less dependencies. Now instead of this ngFor, what we can do is normal for loop we can write @ for loop. Okay, so this is the normal for loop what we know from JavaScript. Okay, so now the element which you want to iterate will go inside this for loop. Okay, now items will be our variable name, that is product list. Now track by. So in the previous version with ngFor we had that track by. Okay, so now that from ngFor we had the track by. Now same thing with this for loop we can have, either we can use index or you can specify any property from your array of object. Now, what is the unique thing we have? Product ID. This is the unique thing, right? So this we can pass it over here. Okay. Now we just need to make the all the properties dynamic. So image property binding. Now we are going to get the image in our item dot product image URL. See the benefits of creating class and interface. If we give any over here now, okay, so you won't get that IntelliSense. See, now you're not getting that property, but once you provide the interface, see, strongly typing does happen. Now you won't be making the spelling mistake and everything. Sorry, image URL we need to use. Okay, here we will use the short name by using interpolation. Item dot product short name, and this is the price. Let's put the dollar symbol as it is. Item dot product price. Let's remove this. We don't need the deleted price. Actually, we just have that. Let it be. And this is star, I think. How many stars? We don't have that as well. Let's just save and check our products are visible properly or not. Error from API. Okay. Why we got it one by one? Okay. Because what we did inside for loop, we have kept this div, but this is not the div which we want to iterate. For all three, we have to iterate. So this should go inside. Okay, that's why it was coming by one by one. Let me just format. Now it will come side by side, right? So this is how we are able to show the product. So first thing is done. Like on the page load, we have called the API. Whatever the data we got from that API, we have stored that into a variable, and by using for loop, we have iterated that. So this is the new thing what we have got in Angular 17. Same thing you could have done that with Angular by using ngFor also, but to use the ngFor in component, you will be importing one module, making your component again heavy. Why to use that? Now directly we have the ngFor, so we should go for this. Okay. So this is how we have successfully displayed the products, whatever we have got from the API.